The wind rattled the shutters that night, a sharp, cold breeze rolling in from the north. The house was quiet, too quiet for a home that had once echoed with laughter, shouting matches over video games, and the hum of everyday life. Ellen sat on the worn couch in the living room, nursing a mug of lukewarm tea she'd forgotten to drink. The light above her flickered once, and she barely noticed. Across the hallway, a bedroom door creaked open. Ellen looked up just in time to see the silhouette of her son, Brandon, standing there. He looked taller in the shadows, broader too. His voice broke the silence, rough and hesitant. "Mom." She blinked, heart skipping. "Brandon. I thought you were asleep." He stepped into the soft pool of light that spilled from the kitchen. He wore an old hoodie and sweatpants, his hair a mess from sleep, but his eyes held something that startled her, a heaviness that didn't belong to a 17-year-old. "Can we talk?" Ellen set the mug down and nodded. "Of course. Always." Brandon walked over, hesitated, then sat on the opposite end of the couch. For a while, he just stared at his hands, twisting his fingers together the way he used to when he was little and had done something wrong. She resisted the urge to reach out. He finally said, "Do you ever think people just change overnight?" The question surprised her. "What do you mean?" "Like, they wake up and they're different." "Not in a bad way. Just, not who they were the day before." She thought about it, watching his profile. He looked so much like his father, James, especially around the eyes. "I think people can have moments where everything shifts. Maybe it's not overnight. Maybe they've been changing a little every day, and one night, it all just comes to the surface." He nodded, biting his lower lip. "I think that happened to me." Ellen felt a jolt in her chest. "What do you mean?" Brandon turned to her, his eyes serious in a way that seemed foreign. "I don't know. Something feels off. I went to bed last night feeling like a kid, like I always do. But when I woke up today, everything felt different. I looked in the mirror and it was like I didn't recognize myself. I'm still me, but I'm not." She felt a surge of worry, but kept her voice calm. "Did something happen at school?" He shook his head. "No. It's not that kind of thing. It's not about school or friends or anything. It's just, inside. Like I'm standing at the edge of something big, and if I take one more step, I won't be the same." Ellen swallowed hard. "That sounds scary." He nodded slowly. "It is." There was silence again, stretching between them like a fragile thread. Ellen's mind raced, trying to understand what was happening. She had raised Brandon on her own since he was 3, after James left. It had always been just the two of them. She knew him better than anyone. Or at least she thought she did. "Brandon," she said gently, "you're growing up. A lot changes around your age. You start seeing the world differently. You start seeing yourself differently." He looked up at her, his face drawn. "But what if I don't like what I see?" She leaned forward. "You're still finding out who you are. It's okay not to have it all figured out. None of us do. Even me. But you seem so sure about everything." Ellen smiled, but it was faint. "That's just because I've learned to fake it when I need to. Believe me, I have my moments too." Brandon leaned back, letting his head rest on the couch. He stared at the ceiling. "Do you ever wish things had turned out differently?" She thought about James, about the years of struggle, the loneliness, the tears cried in the dark after Brandon had gone to bed. "Sometimes. But if they had, I might not have had you the way I do. And I wouldn't trade that for anything." He smiled faintly. "Even when I was a pain?" "Especially then," she said with a chuckle. "That's when I loved you the hardest." They sat in silence for a long while, the room growing cooler as the night deepened. The sound of a train horn far in the distance broke the stillness. Brandon said softly, "There's more, Mom." Ellen straightened. "Okay. I'm listening. I've been having dreams. Strange ones. Every night for the past week. I'm always in a place that feels familiar, but I don't know it. There are people there I've never met, but in the dream, I know their names. And I'm always doing things I've never done. Like fighting. Leading people. It's intense. And when I wake up, I feel like I left part of myself behind." Ellen's skin prickled. "Do you think they mean something?" I don't know. But they feel real. Too real. Have you talked to anyone else about this? No. Just you. She reached out, placing a hand over his. Thank you for telling me. I know that wasn't easy. He squeezed her hand. You've always been the one person I trust. Those words hit her deep. She'd spent years worrying if she was enough, if being both mom and dad would leave him feeling incomplete. But in that moment, hearing him say that, she felt like maybe she'd done something right after all. They stayed on the couch for what felt like hours, talking about everything and nothing, about when he was 6 and broke his arm falling from the treehouse, about the time he ran away to the backyard with his Halloween candy, convinced she was going to confiscate it. The laughter returned for a while, light and easy, until his voice grew quiet again. Do you believe people have past lives? The question caught her off guard. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I keep thinking, what if these dreams are memories? What if I've been someone else before? Ellen studied him, the flickering light playing across his face. I think the mind is powerful. It holds on to things, finds ways to process what we can't understand. If that's how your mind is helping you make sense of what you're feeling, I think that's okay. He nodded, accepting her words without fully agreeing. Whatever happens, she said, you're still my son. That will never change. He looked at her then, eyes shining. I know. I just feel like something big is coming. And I'm scared I won't be ready. She pulled him into a hug, and to her surprise, he didn't resist. He held on tighter than he had in years, like he needed to be reminded that the world wasn't shifting beneath him, not completely. You don't have to be ready, Brandon. You just have to keep moving forward. One step at a time. That night, long after he'd gone back to bed, Ellen sat awake in the living room, watching the shadows move across the walls. Something was changing in him, something she didn't fully understand. He was still her son, but the boy who had once clung to her hand at the zoo, afraid of the lion's roar, was growing into someone new, someone she hadn't yet met. And that realization filled her with both pride and fear. The next morning, the sun rose over a house that felt slightly different. Brandon was in the kitchen making pancakes, something he'd only recently started doing. She watched him move around, confident, calm, like he'd crossed some invisible line in the night. Good morning, she said. He smiled at her. Morning. Want some? Always. They sat at the kitchen table, eating in comfortable silence, but beneath it all, something unspoken lingered. He was still her son, but that night, something had shifted. And whatever came next, she knew they'd face it together.